Welcome to the First Mentor podcast. Here, you will hear us talk about a variety of topics for the entire family that will hopefully spark a discussion, create a new curiosity, or simply teach you something new. The goal is to inspire you to learn life skills and soft skills not taught in school and prepare you to live an extraordinary life. Come on and spend some time with us on your commute to school or anytime you're free.
Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, Vanessa Yang. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 4 of the First Mentor podcast. And I wanted to ask you, what is one topic that you'd wish you'd learn when you were at a younger age, especially for us parents out there? And one topic that I've heard that comes up over and over again after discussions with different parents is money and personal finance. All of us wished we'd known how to handle money at an earlier age. And we also wanted to make sure that our kids learn this very special topic that unfortunately is not taught at school. So I took that to heart. And as a result, I am very excited to have a good friend of mine join me for the podcast today. Her name is Vicky Rank-Soupson. We've known each other for several years now, but I wanted to share her background with you a little bit. So she's been in Los Angeles for multiple years now and graduated at UCLA with a bachelor's degree in business economics and an emphasis in accounting. And after graduation, she worked at a public accounting firm similar to me for multiple years, joined the Walt Disney Company for a little bit before becoming a financial advisor. So for the past 20 plus years, she's been a financial advisor with Ameriprise. And this company is formerly known as American Express Financial Advisors. So in working for this career, she actually has 2 certifications. She's a CPA and a CFP. So CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant. I know that because I'm one as well. And CFP stands for Certified Financial Planner. So it's amazing that she has both. And her main job as a financial advisor is really help all her clients reach their financial goals. And that could cover many, many topics, such as retirements or saving money for the children's college education. So she sits down with her clients, which range from generally their 20s and their 90s, and talks to them and understands what's important to them before they work on a goal together. But what's important, she thinks, is that young adults, when they're just about to earn income early in their career, learn how to handle money. And the next category of her clients that are very important is when they're about to retire. They're a few years away from that special time of their life, and they need to prepare how to make that money last longer. So anyways, without further ado, I am going to start talking to Vicky right away. So I'm very excited today to have my friend Vicky Rank-Soupson here with me. And Vicky and I have known each other, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years already, because our 2 youngest sons have been best friends since kindergarten. So I think that's how I met her, through the very first play date that the boys wanted. And Vicky, is that what you recollect too? Is that how we met the first time?
Yeah, I remember I came to your house. Since kindergarten. They've been friends since kindergarten.
Yeah, and I'm
Our
so
kids.
glad we're still keeping in touch and they're still having a great time, even though, unfortunately, your boys moved to a different school, but that's okay. They still get along really well, and it's amazing.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
see you guys pretty much every week.
Yeah, quite often, which is awesome. I love it. And that's what I really enjoy about doing the podcast, is really just inviting my friends just to have a chat and sharing mommy topics, so to speak. And today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to cover the topic of money, personal finance, if you want to say it in a more professional way, and how we view it. She will share with us a little bit from her perspective, her experience, and hopefully some stories, because I know she shared some stories with me about her clients, which are really funny at times. And what I thought was really interesting when we prepared for this conversation is really how you view money in the different buckets. So I wanted to start there. So when you said to me last time, this is how you look at money. You earn money, you keep money, you grow money, you spend money, and then you donate money. So 5 areas, if I'm counting correctly. So I just wanted to
Right.
touch upon each of them a little bit. If you could share with me how you view, let's start with earn.
All right. Well, I think for earning money, it just depends on the different life stage you're in. So, in terms of earning money, it's just kind of finding opportunities and I know you have a lot of experience, with earning money for your kids because, your kids do chores. That's how my kids earn money. They do chores, but I think your kids are definitely doing real work to
Yes.
earn money.
What I've done, I mean, my kids are not officially in the earning stage yet. They're not old enough, but I think it's in a way, especially with technology nowadays, you could be 10 years old and make money. Um, and when you're older, a teen over 16, I believe that's the age you could get a job, right? That's a great way to look at
Mm-hmm.
it. But nowadays, I've seen some of my friends, younger kids, who started making jewelry or soap, or even some were selling slime on the internet.
Oh,
When,
yes,
when
yes.
slime was really popular,
Very like that's right.
right?
That's right.
You probably have
That's right.
friends who did that too. And so you can sell things online, doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah,
And,
I know some kids and sorry, in our school district, they actually they put up a lemonade stand,
oh, they do
and
that in
then
your neighborhood? Uh-huh.
they do once a year. There are a few kids that really know about that because the house just happens to be across from our school, so they can put up a sign right outside
Mhm.
of school, which is
Uh-huh.
across to the house, and say lemonade stand. In fact, we're doing a front yard, and then one of the things we're doing is to plant some citrus trees. So I have that in mind. Lemon
That's
trees,
awesome.
lemonade for the kids.
No, it's all about location, right? Location,
Yeah,
location, location. So those kids are very smart to set it up right across from the school. So yes,
yeah.
old-fashioned lemonade stand, people still do that. I've heard that about that quite often. A-
Yes, yes.
And then other ways I've seen kids do, I mean, YouTube, right? YouTube did not exist when we were kids.
No.
But it became really popular, and I've seen, I mean, the person on YouTube that makes the most money started when he was, I think, 5 or 6 years old.
Oh my God. My kids are so into these YouTubers and they're, that's what we spend time on. Let's watch this guy. Let's watch that guy.
Yeah.
There's one guy, I can't remember his name, but he used to be a JPL scientist and then he was doing all these experiments. So they would tell me, who are these YouTubers and they're making a ton of money.
Right. And
So yeah.
good way. And then some kids do that too. But my kids, I've done, and it's more for different reasons, but they did acting for a little bit, maybe just for a year, just
Hmm.
to learn it. But they were able to put some money on the side and save it. And
Hmm.
my younger son actually earned his own money for his own iPad, which he was very proud of purchasing.
Oh my, I'm proud of him.
Because I told him, I'm not paying for it. You want one? At 9 years old, you earn it yourself. So he's
Yeah.
put money on the side.
Well, at that age, probably, you do need some help from the parents to set you up, like, a lemonade stand. You can't be setting one up, a
True.
10-year-old. And so for acting and all, I'm sure you do a lot of driving around, sending them
Yes.
around to different studios and all. So kudos to you. But I guess, when they get to, older teens, my kids are not that age, 10 and 12. So I think, we probably can talk to, any moms of like teenagers and see how kids are making money. I know
Yeah.
my husband, he used to work for Nordstrom's and he used to work at Staples and,
Uh-huh.
places like that. And I remember, talking to a client one time and, they were complaining that the younger children, they're like, oh, it's not a really good job. But then this is what I told them. I said, in your mind, it might not be a good job because they're doing, very manual work, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. But there's no bad jobs out there, especially for younger kids, because the quote unquote, the worse the job it is, the better the experience they get because then they would know they don't want to do that for the rest of their lives. So
Good
it's a good
point.
experience in the sense that, okay, well, you don't want to be doing manual laboring. So you've been there, done that, that that's not what you want to spend your time doing all your life. So it's a good experience in the sense that is, you don't want to go there. So go to
Yeah,
school and, make sure you
absolutely.
go graduate from college and then, make more money that way.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah.
retail, like your husband used to do, is a very popular job, especially during the holiday seasons when it
Mm,
gets really busy at the malls. A lot of, I think, teens, some of my friends who have kids in the teens, they did retail jobs. And I
mm,
think that's a great way to, and I've heard, I don't know anybody personally, but tutoring or babysitting could be
uh-huh.
another opportunity for teens to make some money, right? Just to help in.
Yeah. I don't mind having my kids go into work retail, to be honest with you, because it is very difficult. I personally have not had that experience, but I think, kids these days are in front of computers all day long. They don't really have that
Yes.
social graces that they learn and, interacting with other people. And I would rather they have a boss who tell them, oh, you need to greet people this way. You need to be, instead of, mom and dad telling them, oh, you should, when you see, the principal, on the baseball court, you're supposed to go up and say hi,
Yes.
I'm, so and so, how are you, and so I'd rather somebody else teach them that. So
That's
I
true.
would encourage my kids to go to retail, actually.
No, I agree
um,
with you. And it teach them customer service,
yes,
right? How to communicate, how to look people in the eyes. Some kids don't even know how to do that nowadays. I've seen that.
exactly. And extend yourself instead of, just being in your little bubble, because there's all kinds of people you can meet.
Yes.
So
Besides
yeah,
earning money, it seems like it has a lot of other benefits.
yes, absolutely.
So great. And let's talk about keeping money. So in other words, saving, right? There's so many ways to go about. Is there any particular tips you have, Vicky, when it comes to savings?
I think, this is a topic for kids and adult alike. It's important to save money. I mean, luckily in my line of work, pretty much all my clients are savers.
Mm.
So I guess, if they're not savers, they probably wouldn't want to go see a financial advisor and, try to find out what to do with the money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would say saving is important. It's something you really wanted to instill in your kids' minds, especially when they start making money, because
Yes.
it's so easy to spend it all. So if you read any, finance book, personal finance books out there, you really should save at least 10%. So the concept, if your kids earn $10, at least $1 goes into savings. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but this day and age, I mean, there's no more pension plans. There's, Social Security is going to get pushed out more and more. So kids these days, they really are on their own in terms of saving
True.
for their retirement and all. So, I mean, I would say even 20% of the gross income they should consider setting aside. If they don't have any concept of a saving, just tell them save 20%. So
Right.
just kind of like
Rather be safe than sorry. Too much saving never hurts.
never hurts. So I think, it's kind of the concept of delayed gratification, right? You can spend all 10
Mm-hmm.
bucks, but you can also just spend eight, and then your $2, will set it aside for later to use.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree with it. I feel like, especially in the US, we are such a culture of just spending beyond our means, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you earn $100, you spend 120, and then you're in debt for $20 that you put on your credit card. So I really, really believe in savings, and the earlier you start, the better. And that would,
Right.
right. And that leads us to a next topic later on, growing. But I want to keep staying with savings for a little bit, because
Yeah.
what I do with my kids, and I read this in a book. So let's say they probably won't get $100 for their birthday, but let's say their grandparent gives them $100 for their birthdays. What I
Mm-hmm.
make them do is put them into different buckets. So we agree on a certain percent. Hey, this is out of the $100. Let's say 15 or 20 you can spend right away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we have a short-term savings, a long-term savings, and a donation bucket. So it's like 4 different buckets. So the short-term savings is, let's say my son wants to buy his own iPad, and it took him a little bit time. It took him, I think, 6 months or so to get there. So he had to keep putting money into his short-term savings bucket because he had a specific goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then the long term, I told them, don't even bother thinking about it. This is going to go towards college.
Mm.
So we agree on a percentage that goes into college. So we have short-term savings, long-term savings, and then a small amount towards donations, because I think it's important for them to learn the concept now, even though they don't have much, but even though if it's just $1 or 5 out of the 100, they
Mm-hmm.
get used to that concept. So yeah, that's from my perspective.
Well, that's great. I mean, you're you're ahead of so many people in terms of getting your kids organized, thinking about money. We don't use the bucket, but I think the bucket concept is great, because then, they have a certain goal in mind. I mean, and my line of work is the same thing. We'll help clients set goals. So it's kind of like keep you focused if it's something
Mm-hmm.
you really want, like an iPad. So for me, we don't really put things in buckets, But, right now my kids are not making any money per se at 10 and 12, but, they do get money from Christmas, birthdays, the red envelope, from Chinese New Year's and
Yes.
all that. So, with that money, what we do is that I do is I tell them, I give them a matching, kind of
Mm.
like people with 401k plans. If
Okay.
anybody with an employee with 401k plans, a lot of 401k plans, most of them, do matching, meaning that you put $1 in your 401k plan, your employer will give you $1.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much, the dollar you put in, you get 100% return right away.
Yes.
So, it's just kind of along those themes, and I didn't make it up. I have many, many clients who are super smart. And I remember I heard it from one client, and I use that concept and tell them that, hey, what do you think about, I let them make decisions, on their
Mm-hmm.
own, and said, with this $50, do you want to save all of it? If you save all of it in the bank, you get $100. Mommy will match you. So I
Wow.
let them make a decision. So,
Good
um,
incentive.
yeah, yeah. So just to get them to save. I mean, at this point, I can't really work that much, on making money, but on the saving part, because it's not like they have a lot of places to spend the money. So
True. We are the ones spending for them, so there's not
yeah.
much.
So, I use the concept of like, hey, matching concept for them to, set the money aside. If nothing at all, just, so they get used to saving money. They might not
Yes.
get matching in the future, but, it just kind of, I think it's just planting the seed in their head, when they're
Agree.
so little,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like, okay, save, 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 save. So that's kind of like, that's how I help them save money.
No,
It's
that's
by
a
using
really
a
good.
matching concept. Yeah.
Have they been biting onto that so they kind of follow and say, "Ooh, I can double my money right away." Do they follow that?
Yeah, they do. They do. I mean,
Oh,
I would say, 10 times I ask them, maybe 8 times they will put the money in.
wow.
There's sometimes, it's about the dollar amount they want to put in. They like to feel like they have some money in their hands.
Yes, yes.
Right. So in their little wallet, they have some money that, they can show it to the brothers or to us that they have money. Not that they do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's nothing more
It
than just,
feels good. It's security.
yeah. So anyway, so most of the times they actually take me up on it and they save it. And so we put it in a bank account. And then when it gets to a certain dollar amount, I actually, have them buy stocks. So that can probably be the next section we're talking about.
Yes. Uh-huh. But really quick, you know my daughter, she loves to eat, right? So she actually has a boba spending section.
Oh, that's great. I
So
love it.
so when she entered middle school, they go out Fridays. She loves to spend money on her boba drinks. That's really important to her. But to me, that's too much sugar, and I don't want to spend $5 on a drink like every other
Mm-hmm.
day. So after a
Mm-hmm.
while, I refuse to do that. So her spending bucket, she's like, okay, she has a special area of her spending bucket that's just for boba or drinks
Oh,
designated.
I love it. I love it. I think, this concept of like making money, saving money, spending money, it would just all come into focus when the kids they have the ability or they have the needs to go out and spend money. Because right now, at 10 and 12, at this life stage, my kids are not
Hmm.
really quote unquote spending money, taking money out of the pocket to, pay for stuff.
Sure.
It comes time that they have their needs of like, hang out with friends, going to movies and going out to eat, then they will have to start thinking about
Hmm.
where the money comes from. Should I go earn money? So I think kind of like in my mind it's more like kind of naturally it will come about. So right now what I can influence is on the savings
Yeah,
portion of
it's
the money they
great.
come in. So but it's great. I love talking to parents who have older kids.
Yeah.
you know Anything that works, you just copy it. You don't have to recreate it.
Right? I mean, I think it's good for them to have a little bit of money so they can have a say, because it's also about towards what you said earlier. It's really the confidence part. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just say, I don't want to spend on that. But if they have a little bit, then I give it a choice. Well, if you really want this, I don't know, pen, notebook, whatever it is that I think
Mm-hmm.
it's ridiculous, I don't agree with, but then spend your own money. I'm not going to buy you another drink because you just had one yesterday. But she wants it, then she pays for it herself, and then she's getting used to it. So
Right.
she has her boba
Right, just
pocket
like your
area.
son. Although I came up with this is something that just came up just 2 days ago, and my younger son wants to play Fortnite. I
Mm,
don't know anything about Fortnite, but apparently you have to buy this game, this the system.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure your husband knows all about it.
Probably.
But and my husband knows about it, and then my two kids, they both know about it. And so my younger son wants to buy it. And so I this is something I heard from one of my clients with 4 kids. She said this: to not bring any games into the house if you can help it. Make it kind of fun. Take them to an arcade if you want to, because her son becomes very addicted to playing games, and so it affects his health as well. So he actually is approaching obesity. So I remember hearing that story. So I'm just truly do not want them to spend money on buying games. So that's kind of like my dilemma, because you said your son is buying an iPad. Great. You support that. Your daughter want to have a budget, for boba drinks. But then if my son wants to buy something I really don't want him to do, so I have to kind of like think a little bit about it, whether I should support that or not.
And for me, same thing. My younger son, he plays a different game called Roblox. And there's
I heard of it.
Yes, and there's different ways of earning your way up to collecting whatever game he's in within Roblox. Like if it's Adopt Me, then they have to upgrade for different pets, whatever that is. I'm still trying to learn the game. But apparently, if you spend real money, you can buy Robux with it, and Robux allows you to kind of level up faster because you purchase within it.
Oh, yes.
Those are in-app purchases. And to me, I am not supporting it, but here and there, if he wants to spend $5, I'm like, fine. But because he started his own YouTube channel, I see it. So we talked about it as an investment. I'm like, okay, only if it's part of your business plan investment. So we talk about it from a business perspective, but I limit it. Like $5 is the most, not just for fun, but if it serves a specific purpose for his YouTube channel, which relates to Roblox for now. So other than that, I'm like, you want to play free. I'm not spending money, because the games you play 6 months and then 6 months later you're bored of it and you jump to the next one. Because we played games in the past. He spent like $5 one time on a game. I forgot what it's called. Plants versus Zombies, to buy some cauliflower. Apparently that was amazing. And he's not playing it anymore. So that money is gone. So I've learned from that experience. I'm like, nope, maybe 5 or 10 is my max, and that's it. No more.
I can't agree more. I mean, there's so many things of this software. I can't even remember what it is. They went and took some classes during summertime, and then they said the class that to buy this software. So I bought it, it's downloaded. Have I seen them use it? Never. So
yes.
Never.
Right.
So I'm learning from that experience. Whatever you want, use your own money. So I have to like pick and choose. What I wanted to support paying for them.
And then that's how we lead to the next topic, is we rather have that money grow, right?
Yeah. So I think the growing concept is quite interesting for them. So my experience is that, as I mentioned before, I make them save money in the bank. And then right now the interest rate is super low. So they don't really see it growing, quote unquote. So, part of what I do is help my clients grow their money. So, which is, investing their money in different instruments such as stocks and bonds. So that's when I introduce them to investing, in company stocks. Okay. And so, so we put money in buying, some company stocks, and then it grew. And so I will report back to them, hey, you make, $50 today, you didn't have to do anything, and then it grows. And so I kind of, and they like it. They really like that idea. Who doesn't, you just sit there and then their money grow $50.
Passive income. Yes.
Yeah. I have not had an in-depth conversation with them at 10 and 12 about, what it is about, how to grow it, why it grows. But, I did also tell them that, just like I explained to my clients, it depends on your time frame. If you have a long time to go before you need this money, then yes, you can have it invested. But if you need this money like tomorrow, within even a year, you don't really want to put it in a stock market, because I don't know if it's going to go up or down tomorrow, next week. But I know in the long run it will make money. It's kind of like, you and I, we live in Southern California. It's like owning a house. You buy a house today, tomorrow it might go down in value in even 6 months or a year. But then if you own it for 10 years, you probably will be making money.
Yes,
So,
that's a really good point. I think from a savings perspective, what I've learned when I was younger, I was too conservative. So there's really a fine balance between that. So I didn't know within savings, there's so many different types of savings accounts. There's a checking, a savings, CD or certificate of deposit, money markets, and then there's mutual
yes.
funds and stocks. I did not know about any of that. So when I was younger, that was years ago, the interest rate was much higher.
Mm.
And the money I saved, because I had to pay for my international student college tuition, I only
Mm-hmm.
put into checking because I didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
But had I known, and I think the interest rate back then was like, I don't know, 3 or 5%.
Mm-hmm. That's
That,
very high.
yeah, that was really high back then. The money that I didn't need right away, I could have put away in a money market or CD, and that could have earned me money versus in checking, which was much lower. So learn a little bit about, maybe go to your local bank. I don't know if they do that, but
Mm.
learn about the different areas and the different types of accounts as a bank has.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and also good to, I know as an adult, it's good to hang around with people who are like-minded, people who like to
Yes.
save money, who like to look around, for the best interest rate, best, credit card with the, best rewards program. And so, for kids, I don't know if they would sit around, talk a little bit, talk about money,
No.
but, we probably can influence who they hang out with. But like-minded kids, I mean, I think it would be great if they get together and talk a little bit about money, see what they talk about.
I actually
Um,
make my son read books. I don't know if I told you before.
yeah.
So when he was, and that was another way for him to earn. So when he was 9 years old, um, I thought about, because I personally love personal development, growth and
Mm-hmm.
development books, but I thought at 9, he probably won't get it. But I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why not? Because I started in my early 20s. But then I
Mm-hmm.
read somewhere online that this guy who was, I think, a young adult, his dad started giving him money. I think it was $20 for each book that the
Mm-hmm.
dad make him read, and
Uh-huh.
that was his way of earning. So that's what I did with my son too. The first book I gave him was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I that was one of my earliest and first growth and development books. So I gave him that book. I said, finish it, but I added one more thing. You have to write me a 5-page summary about what you learned. That
You're
was my
tough, but
I
it's
am.
great.
That was my other condition, because I just don't want him to say, I'll finish reading, mommy, I'm done. I really wanted him to tell me, what did you learn? So he had to
Mm.
write a 5-page summary about what he learned. And then he got his $20, which he added to his iPad savings budget.
Wow, I'm so proud of him. Actually, you did tell me that story,
Uh-huh.
and I try to implement it with my oldest son.
Uh-huh. How
Granted, my
did that
oldest son
go?
is 12 years old. It didn't go well. It's like, oh, he just keep reading the same page over and over again. I think I'm going to try it again when he gets a little bit older.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It probably is it's because it's unlike your son, who has a goal in mind, because he really
Maybe.
wants,
Uh-huh.
the iPad, but my son doesn't really have a goal in mind. So he doesn't have as much incentive,
Yeah. And
to go
that's
read
true.
it.
My older daughter, I tried to do the same with her. She's like, no, not interested.
Not interested.
She's still on her first book, while my son did 3 or 4 already.
Yeah, I think, every child is different, and you probably
True.
treat them differently. I think we chatted a little bit about it. I wouldn't say which of my child, but one of my child it's a saver. He's very frugal. When we go, order takeout, he said, just pick me the cheapest item. Just this is cheaper, let's do this one.
Uh-huh.
And then my other child, he has like $3 for allowance, and he would spend $2.50 on a drink.
I have one of those. Yes, one of each. I'm not going to say it either. I have a spender, and I have a reasonable person who's like, oh, no, it's too expensive, mommy. But the other one is like, oh, I want that. That looks good.
Right, right. And I think, as parents, you kind of have to, look at your child and, give them different incentives to do different things. But I think, I mean, we both have the same mindset about, making sure that educate them about, money,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
educate them about saving money. And I think it's also really important one concept is basic, but it makes a lot of sense, when you say it, but a lot of people don't practice it, is don't spend more than how much you make.
Yes. Yes. I completely agree with that one.
Yeah. And unfortunately, with the credit cards, out there, it's just really easy to do, because when you keep charging it, you can overspend. You charge $200, you only have $100 in your bank. So, but, it's also important to, this is kind of important concept, but you and I have on the same page in terms of educating our kids. I guess that's why we're on this podcast together.
Yes, absolutely. But one thing I've been trying to implement, which I haven't, when you mentioned buying stocks. So for those of you who don't know, buying stocks is really buying a share of a company. So you are a small owner of a company. And what I wanted to do since last year, and I haven't done it, is put about $50 into an account for him to buy stocks. And then each month. And I was hoping for him to choose. So at least, because daddy is really into investing. So daddy talks to the kids about this stock and this share. And then we talk about, the Netflix and the Amazon and the Tesla. So we do have those discussions, even though it just goes way over their heads. And they're like so checked out. But they get the concept about companies that they're familiar with and something about stocks. So what I wanted to do is really give them a say, even though it's just one share, or maybe not even one. Some stocks you can't afford when they're like thousands of dollars a share, but we'll see what we can do. And just have them choose one, because when we think back, I mean, I talked to another friend the other day, and she was like, well, because her sons are high school senior and juniors. And she said back in the days when they got all those red envelope money for Chinese New Year, if we would have bought Tesla or Netflix or Amazon when it was a few $100s, whatever that might be, they would be so much better off, right? And my brother-in-law, when my nephews and nieces were younger, my kids didn't exist back then, but when they were younger, he actually bought one Disney stock for each of them. Back in the days when it was $25 or whatever it was back in the days. And each time when Disney paid dividends, he's like, here's your $2 or whatever the amount for that one share that they have. So just to get them to think about the concept, the stocks, like the stock market, it exists. So at least they have an idea what it is. But I think
I agree with you. They might be a little bit young, but it's good to kind of. I know a lot of people, if they like certain companies, you can actually get the stock certificate, and just kind of, it's a really pretty certificate, and you can just frame it for one share. I think, it's good to talk about it. They might not understand, but I think, families who talk about stocks and growing money, and, you can actually just start doing it for them, just buy a share and of, companies they like, and just, that's what I do with my kids, and let them know, well, we bought this last year at this price, and now, it's worth this much. So you have made this money, and their eyes would just go, whoa, they've made money. But I think one of the things that, for a lot of our clients, in my experience, to be successful in saving money and growing money, it's one of the things to keep in mind is to be consistent.
Good one.
So what that means is that, I don't know if you've heard of the concept of dollar cost averaging. It's basically putting a set dollar amount into the market at the same frequency, be it every paycheck, every 2 weeks, twice a month, every month, just consistently putting money in. So, because investing is such an emotional business.
Oh, yes.
And I'm in the only business where, when my goods is on sale, nobody wants it. What that means is that, listen, if toilet paper is on sale, you will rush in and buy, triple amount of, toilet paper you normally buy. But, when stocks is on sale, meaning that it goes down in price, nobody wants to get into buying it.
Yes.
So, but that's the best time. So what happens is that, if you build in some consistency and, just mechanically build in, some systems to buy into it, that's probably the best way to grow money and to build wealth. It's just consistently putting money in. So there's, places where you can, just consistently buying into, different shares. And, that's, I would say, what that will happen, probably should happen, when your child consistently start making money. Now they just get a red envelope here, birthday money there, may not be as consistent. So you as parents, will probably have to, take that money and just buy shares for them. But I would say, in my experience as a financial advisor, consistency makes a big difference in terms of, being successful in saving money or building wealth.
Yes, I cannot agree more. I think I learned that too when I was at work and in my 401k, which is basically a savings account towards my retirement at the company. And when you first start your first job, you might not even never heard about a 401k before or don't know what to do. And when you log in, there's like 20, 30, 50 options. You don't know what to select. And most people, they're so scared they don't do anything. But one thing I learned early on is that just put it away and pretend you never even earned that money. So it goes right out of your paycheck before you even see the paycheck.
Yeah.
And it's dollar averaging, because sometimes I'm lucky I buy at a low, sometimes at a high, but on average, it goes up based on history, right?
Yeah. It's amazing because I've heard young people say, oh, wow, my 401k is 10,000, it's 20,000. Before you know it, it's 100,000. And it just kind of goes up from there. But, it's just the consistency. And, one of the things I mentioned to you is that I just love coaching young people, especially when they start, earning a paycheck, because, these are some of the concepts that, they should kind of have in mind, especially when they're younger. And then once you help them set it up, okay, well, it's 10% or 20% of your paycheck. If that just goes out to savings from the first paycheck on, they don't really know, they don't miss that money. So, and then, from there on, they will be saving 20% of the income for the next 20 years. And that makes a huge difference.
And then they're surprised 5 years later how much that has grown. They forgot about it.
Exactly. And, hopefully they don't keep looking at it and try to tap into it. And, the hopes is that, the market goes up or down, they'll still continue putting money away. So that's how, I help clients and I see them building wealth is just consistently putting the money away.
Yes. And I think what I've learned is early on, because of time value of money, that money grows, compound interest, basically your money earning money for you, and that interest that you earned is continuing to earn. So the sooner you start, the less you have to save in the future.
Yes. And I have, I've coached young people. I have a lot of clients with, children who started working. So, there's a lot of good visuals you can show them, like if you want to retire at 55 or 60 years old, you start saving, in your 20s, then, you only need to save, $500 a month. But if you wait 10 years later to start saving, instead of 500, you might have to save $1,000 a month to catch up. And then if you wait even longer, and then 10 years to save, then you might have to do $2,000 a month. So it just gets more expensive.
True.
Using terms that they understand, more expensive if the longer you wait to save money. So this is something I say, your goals are never as cheap as they are today. It's
Good
the
one.
cheapest.
I would suggest just to learn. It doesn't matter how old you are. How can you grow your money? But of course, be careful, because sometimes or many times there's risk involved. The higher the return, the higher the risk. So be careful. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but start learning how to grow. That's my advice.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because, in my line of business, there's actually quite a few questions you ask before you can help clients, put the money in the right places, because, everybody has different risk tolerance and they have different time frame. So, when you hear your next door neighbor, a friend, doing something, buying something, it might not be the right thing for you.
True.
So,
yeah, good point. So that's growing. And then the next one we mentioned earlier is spending, or I also would call it budgeting, because I think budget is a huge one. You don't just spend mindlessly, right? You get a paycheck, you earn $100 finally after working so many hours. You don't just spend it without thinking about it. And that's where budgeting comes in, right, Vicky?
Yeah, and that's something, when we work with clients, it's very interesting because budgeting, it's interesting in the sense that, people can tell you how much they spend, but actually how much they actually spend can be completely different than what they tell you.
Oh, yes.
And I actually have one client. It was very funny. When I first met her, she gave me all her expenses. And then the second year, we do financial planning every year because, situations, changes every year. So we kind of it's kind of like you go to a checkup with your doctor. You check up this year, and the next year things change, so you check it again. So the second year, and I said, oh my, how come your budget for clothing went up 3 times? And she said, Vicky, last year I didn't know you very well. I didn't want to tell you.
She didn't tell you the truth.
I didn't want to tell you this is actually how much I spend on these items. So, but this is the real number. It's not like went up so much. I always remember this story.
Women, their purses and their shoes and clothes.
So I remember that story. But I think budgeting is just like what I said before. You don't want to spend more than how much you make. Yes. And before you start spending, you really need to set 10%, the minimum, if not 20% aside, for savings. And then the rest of it, you can spend it. And I call saving, like I call that paying yourself. I don't know if you heard of that
Paying
term.
yourself first.
Pay yourself first. Yeah,
yes.
You pay everybody. Like, for adults, you pay your mortgage, you make car payments, you pay utility bills, insurance, but, you want to pay yourself first. Set money aside in your savings or 401k, before you start spending money.
Completely agree. Because when you put it aside right away before you see the paycheck, you don't even miss it. But it's harder for you to all of a sudden take money out of your paycheck and say, oh, great, now I have to put this into savings. But just set it and forget it at the very beginning. So you never see and sometimes really don't remember you had that. And that was a huge difference in the future.
Yes. I can't agree more. We actually, we have clients who save outside of their retirement plans as well. So what we do is that, we synchronize automatic pool from the bank account with the paycheck. So let's say they need to save, additional, $500 over and beyond, what they save in a 401k plan. So as soon as the paycheck comes in on a Friday, we set it up so that, we pull the money they need to save, outside of the 401k plan, out of the checking account or savings account before, they will see it. So that actually works out really well. It's good to build some mechanics into savings. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, since you sit down with your clients, because I do that personally before a new year starts, I sit down with my husband and try to do a budget for the family for the upcoming year. In Excel, we do this very easily. But do you do something like that with your clients, sit down with them and teach them how to set a budget, or is this more on their own how they want to do it?
Yeah, what happens is that the most important line item we have while clients are, saving for retirement is actually the savings. And then everything else, we actually don't need pick what they spend money on. They can spend what we do when we give them a budget, just to help them jot down, how they spend money. And sometimes it's a very enlightening exercise because they're like looking at, oh, I didn't realize I spent, $1,000 a month on eating out. So that will bring up, another subject, to talk about. But, generally, we work with the clients however way they want to. Sometimes they itemize everything. Some clients come in, they have, everything on Excel. They know exactly, where they spend the money. But some clients, they just say, I get paid this much money and I approximately charge everything on my credit card and then on my mortgage. So I approximately spend, X dollars amounts on per month. So we'll work with them, whatever capacity it is. The time that, we're concerned and we dig pretty deep, into the budget is when we see them either depleting the savings or have a lot of credit card debt. So those are the two situations where we realize that, they are spending more than how much they make. Yeah. So that's when, the finance police comes in, that will come in and say, something is not working here. You're spending more money, than how much you bring in. But generally, from my line of work, clients, we don't really nitpick saying that, well, you're supposed to only spend $500 on groceries, but you spend a little bit more or less. But, when we deal with our children, that might be a little bit different. And it can be easier to start because, they don't have 25 different expense items, to deal with. They might have, the Baba budget and then the Roblox budget, and so we can kind of start from that point.
And I think it's important just for them at a young age to learn the concept about budgeting, because in another episode of a podcast, I told you about the book before. It's called. It comes from a younger version of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So the 7 Habits of Happy Kids. And I covered that book in another podcast episode. And one story was talking about Goop. He started with a goal in mind. So he said,
I remember
okay,
that
you
one.
remember that story?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
basically he was like, okay, I need to buy so-and-so a birthday gift. So probably $2. And I need to, I would love to buy a slice of pizza because I'm hungry. So it costs $1. So he listed down. So that was kind of a budgeting in a simpler format. So he listed down and it added up to, I don't know, $10. And then he went back and started the lemonade stand to earn. And when he earned the $10, he knew exactly what to do with it and he accomplished all his goals. So that's an easy way of budgeting if any kids ever want to start that. Because as an adult, like Vicky said earlier, you have so many different expense categories. It could get complicated very easily.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good idea to kind of get them used to that idea. And I think it starts with, when kids having more needs, like in that story, they have specific items they want to buy. So I think it's also important to kind of help your kids set goals. I mean, they might have goals, but then it's good if they don't have it, help them set goals because, once they have goals, it's easier to save money toward the goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's spending, just in a nutshell, really quick. But I want to, before we go, because I wanted to dive deeper into savings on specific categories later on, but I wanted to touch upon donation really quick. Is there anything particular you advise your clients or your families on?
Well, I think for donating, we don't have a budget for that. I do it for the charities that I like, and so I have to say this is an area that I need to work on a bit
Same
more.
here. Same here. The only
Yeah.
thing I did for the kids is like the little donation bucket, but it's small. They only put like $1 in, $1 there. So I don't want to go to a charity and say, here's $5.
Yeah.
But hopefully that will grow over time and then they can choose their favorite charity and give it to them.
Yeah. Do you actually introduce them to different charities, or how do you think you're gonna allocate that money in that bucket?
We haven't thought about it fully, but unfortunately, when I used to work for Disney, there was this Disney Volunteers, like with the ears program,
right.
and I used to donate my time there. But also, Disney used to give matching, basically when you donate money, so to a lot of organization. And I've learned when we were still in the elementary school and we donated money back to our school that they would match to certain schools too. So a lot of larger corporations do matching. So if you don't know, just ask your company. Maybe they match. So if you want to give $500, $1,000 to your school or whatever charity that you support, your company will match the amount up to a certain amount. So I talk about it with the kids here and there, but I think we need to do a better job as well. And what I was hoping to do is not just money, but also time. I really hope for them, well, this year it's not going to be possible, but during the holidays to learn how to, donate to the homeless. My younger son is part of Cub Scout. What they did is they put a care package together where they have a bottle of water, hand sanitizers, and different daily needs products. And he put it in a large Ziploc bags, and we have 2 of those.
That is a great idea because, my kids, they, we drive by and we see homeless people. And so, and then, they wanted to give money to the homeless people, but our concerns is that, does it go to,
the right purpose, yes.
The right purpose, or, is it because,
Same here.
Anyway, but that's a great idea. I can have my kids start setting some money aside and just buy essentials and put it in a Ziploc bag.
Yes. Hand sanitizers are great because of COVID-19, right?
That's right.
Maybe a mask or 2. I think we should add a mask to it now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's
bottle
really
of
good.
Water, essentials, tissues.
Yeah. My company has a day of service. They have 2 days in a year that, we donate our time. So I actually have gone to the food bank, to donate. So, you kind of put packages together, and then also Salvation Army and quite a few things. But kids are not allowed, though, those facilities. But it's good to talk to them about it. But I really like your idea about putting care packages together.
Yeah, that's from the Cub Scout. It wasn't me. I don't want to take credit, but I loved it.
Yeah, you don't really have to reinvent the wheels, right? As I said, it works for somebody else, just copy it.
Yes.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
think what I wanted to talk to them about is really when catastrophes happens, right? Years ago when the big tsunami occurred, they were too young. But like the local fires we've had in California, right?
Mm.
Every time there is something big or hurricane hits, I think the next time I really want to sit down with them and say, hey, look, people in this area have been impacted by this event.
Hmm.
So what can we do for them? So really maybe have them think about not just money, but also time or products, right? Something that could be
Yes,
helpful.
yes. Well, when you have those conversations with your kids, let me know. We'll
Okay.
do a
Yeah.
conference, so we'll all do
Yes,
it
let's
together.
do that. Let's do that. Because years ago we just did with my friends, I had a party and everybody just brought products and we just wrapped it here
Hmm.
for kids, right? With toys. So I think they had this at school. So I made my kids give some of their toys away that were brand new. They weren't too
Uh-huh.
happy about it, but it's good for them to learn. I'm like, look, you don't even play with it. You open it and then it sits there and collects dust. But
Hmm.
somebody else would really appreciate it. So
Yeah,
just make them think,
absolutely.
have the
And I think,
conversation.
yeah, well, next time you're doing anything like that, call me. We don't
Okay.
live that far away.
Sounds good. We'll do that. Well, wasn't Vicky amazing so far? I know we covered a lot of great points about money and personal finance, and there was actually a lot more. And that's why I decided to split this podcast into two different episodes. So, in part one, we covered different buckets of money, right? How we can view it. So, we talked about earning money, keeping or saving money, growing money. We talked about expenses, spending, and a little bit about budgets, as well as donations. In part two about the podcast, we will cover a little bit more long term savings and especially focused on college savings. So make sure you tune into that episode as well. We appreciate the time that you spend with us, and make sure you hit the favorite button or subscribe button so that you don't miss any future episodes of our podcast. Thank you again for your time and hope to connect with you next time. Talk to you soon. Bye.